All right, welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be recapping UFC Vegas 101. That was 2 days ago now. It was on Saturday night, and it was an interesting card. It was relatively fun. I think a lot of the fights were solid. I lost a bit of money. I think I was down minus 3.6 units or minus 3.7, something like that. And it was my own fault. I made some pretty poor mistakes, forced a few spots. I wanted to come in hot, start off the year well, and kind of did the opposite for myself. So we'll run through the card, we'll run through my bets, and then we'll hop on out of here. So the first fight, Narulo Aliyah versus Joe Selecki, that fight went just about as everybody expected. Even the people who took shots on Selecki, I think they made a solid bet because he did have a few subs locked in, especially in the first round, and he was able to get the takedown in the third as well. Aliyev, though, able to take him down, able to control him. And I was hoping for maybe like a round three knockout. I sprinkled that. He hurt him in the second round, but in the third, it was also mostly Selecki. So, yeah, Aliyev looked pretty good. He's got some work to do still. He's still pretty green, but he's also very young, 24. I'm sure he'll improve. Not sure where Selecki goes from here. He's a little bit on the older side of things, and now he's on a 2-fight loss streak. So we'll see what happens. But that was the first parlay leg I had. Aliyev was in two of my parlays, and one of them was with Gadzia Zulov, who we'll talk about soon, that lost, and then one of them was with Karaskete that won. After that, it was Fatima Klein versus Victoria Dudakova. This was probably my most forced error. I bet the over 2.5 at minus 245 to win 1 unit. And it was an unnecessary play. I literally went into this year saying I want to lay less chalk on totals. And the first thing I do is lay 2.5 units to win one on a total. And it was a bad bet. I know some people were try to rationalize it like, yeah, Klein doesn't really finish well in the regionals, so it made sense to think that she wouldn't finish here. And that's part of my thought process going into it. Most of it was that I just expected a lot of grappling, and that tends to bring us over. But I should have realized that Dudakova, she gasses, and she gasses against Sam Hughes. She didn't get finished because Hughes isn't the best finisher, but going against Klein, who I think is a lot better than Hughes, who's a lot more dangerous, and who's a very talented grappler in her own right, I should have realized that Klein could probably gas her out even faster. And Dudakova kind of gassed herself out because she came out super hot in the first round, chased the takedowns. Klein did a great job scrambling, making her work, and Dudakova just gassed so hard. And then it was like 30 seconds left in the second round. I just needed it to make 30 more seconds because I also had a sprinkle on Klein round 3. So that would have brought me at least with a little bit of profit rather than losing 2.5 units. But alas, Dudakova gives up after like 4 elbows, 30 seconds left in the round. And then Dudakova is so mad she slaps her husband / coach, which is just bizarre. But that sucked, but great performance from Klein. Losing that bet was my own fault. After that, we had Bruno Lopez versus Magomed Gadzhizulov. Again, I literally pre-tape, I was thinking, okay, Bruno dog odds here. That makes a lot of sense. That might be a great play. And then I taped it and I convinced myself that Gadzia Zulov was a spot that he'd roll. He'd be able to get the takedowns. I don't even think he got one takedown. I don't even think he really tried for them. Bruno did all the wrestling. Bruno held him up against the cage. Bruno landed the shots on the feet. On the feet, like Gadzia Zulov looked better at range, faster, seemed to hit harder, was a cleaner striker, but he just barely did it. And it was because Bruno kept holding him up against the cage and he couldn't do anything about it. People are going to complain, say it was boring. Everybody's super emotional and upset at both guys. But at the end of the day, it's not Bruno's fault. Bruno fought smart. He did his job. He won as a huge underdog, and good for him. I'm glad that he did, and I'm sure he'll do great in his career. And Gadzia Zulov, he's not a bum just because he lost. He'll improve. He was green. He's got things to work on, and it's fine. Like, I lost the bet. It is what it is. After that, Karaskete versus Cagliari went relatively how I expected it. I didn't think it was a split. I thought Ernesta pretty clearly won that fight, but 29-28 for me. But it went just about as I expected. Cagliari getting a few takedowns on the feet, Karaskete being the better striker, being able to use her reach for the most part, but she was still making that mistake where she's got a 9-inch reach advantage. But instead of maintaining the range and landing at distance, she just kept closing the distance, getting up close where Cagliari can also strike with her. So that was concerning. Didn't love that. Probably won't lay the chalk on her anytime soon again. And then after that, it was Jacoby Smith versus Preston Parsons. Awesome debut for Jacoby Smith. I didn't want to touch that fight. I thought about maybe betting like Jacoby decision. I'm very glad that I did not. Preston was not the guy to extend him, and Jacoby was able to put him away. Super impressive prospect. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for him. And then with Preston Parsons, low key, they might cut him, even though that's just 2 losses in a row. I think they might cut him, but we'll see. After that, it was Thiago Moises versus Trey Ogden. So I was on Moises. It was probably my most confident read going, other than like Aliyev, but it was probably my most comfortable read. I thought that Moises would be able to hold Ogden down if he got it down there. I thought that the leg kicks would be a weapon, and it kind of played out that way. Now, they did end up on the ground a few times because of mistakes of Ogden's, not necessarily because Moises was wrestling amazing, but my read was correct. I felt that if Ogden gets on his back, he's going to get stuck. And he did get stuck. So, and the leg kicks were working too. So I think my read was pretty good. Should I have laid the chalk on Moises? Maybe not, but I still think it was a solid play. If it hit because Ogden made mistakes, I mean, that's the game. I lose bets because the guys I bet on make mistakes too. Then there was Marco Tulio versus Igor Pateria. I hedged out of that fight. I just had the over. That lost because Tulio just ran through my guy Igor. It is what it is. Tulio looks amazing. He's a great prospect. Another guy to look out for. And then Igor, I think they might cut him at this point. I'm not sure that they can really rationalize keeping him for much longer. After that, it was Bunez versus Jose Johnson. Sucks to see my guy Johnson lose. I did pick him to win. I almost laid the chalk on him until I taped it, and I was like, there's no way I can lay chalk on him knowing Bunez could take him down. And then Bunez ends up subbing him with a beautiful armbar. Good for Bunez, showing that he can still get it done at 35 years old. I doubt he's got too much more time left in his career, but he'll probably stick around for a bit. And Jose Johnson, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. They're probably going to make him go back to bantamweight if they keep him because he missed weight by like 3 pounds or almost 3 pounds. But I hope they don't cut him. I think Jose's fun. I think he's a good fighter. Maybe he won't be champ, but he could do good things in the sport. So I hope they don't cut him. But anybody who played Bunez, sharp play. I thought about it. I ended up just not doing it. I wish I did, but I did not. Hindsight's 2020, but good for Bunez. After that, another dog that I passed up on, Punahele Soriano versus Medic. That fight didn't even get to play out like I thought it would. I almost bet the over, almost laid the chalk, convinced myself not to. Didn't think it would be Puna who would ruin it, but I'm glad I passed either way. Puna landed the big shot, knocked him out. Good for Puna, plus 185 underdog hit. The underdogs started off the year hot, honestly. A few of them won on the UFC. On Fury UFC, almost the entire main card was underdogs just cashing back to back to back. And then speaking of another underdog that won on Saturday, we had Christian Rodriguez versus Austin Bashi. So I cashed Rodriguez by decision. I bet that at plus 500. I put a quarter unit on it. That was a great bet. He looked fantastic. Once again, the prospect killer took another O from another guy who was undefeated coming into the matchup, and he won as a plus 250-ish underdog. Really good performance from C-Rod. Fantastic scrambling. Really good striking. And Bashi just showed that he's still a little bit green. He wasn't quite ready for such a big step up from who he was facing on the regionals. And on one hand, it is a good thing for us gamblers who try not to at least bet emotionally, because now we're going to get a better price on Bashi. Next fight or the fight after, as long as it's not like a complete layup, we're probably going to get a better price because a lot of gamblers are emotional. After Bashi lost, I saw people calling him a bum, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. He might be a future champ. He's not a bum, not even close. He's only like 23, 24 years old or even younger, I forget. And he's going to develop. C-Rod's just a tough ask for a debut, and I don't really blame Bashi. Hopefully we'll get a nice price tag on him next time, and C-Rod will probably get a step up for his next fight. After that, it was Roman Kopylov versus Chris Curtis. A lot of controversy there. It was a relatively close fight, but at the end of the day, like, Kopylov was going to win that fight regardless. After he dropped Chris Curtis in the third, even without dropping him, he probably was going to win that third round. It was 1-1 going into it on all the scorecards, I believe. And dropping him definitely won him the round in a round that he was probably winning anyway. And then the ref called it. He called the fight. Low key, I kind of get it. I don't even think it was that bad of a stoppage. Like, should he have let it go because there was only 2 seconds left? Yes, but that's not the ref's job. The ref's job isn't to make it go to a decision if there's only short time left. That shouldn't factor into it at all. If he stopped it and there was 2.5 minutes left or still another round left, people wouldn't have complained. They wouldn't have complained. They would have said, okay, yeah, it was a stoppage. But people were upset because their Kopylov decision tickets didn't cash. Their Chris Curtis plus 3.5 tickets didn't cash. And I mean, I get it. I've been emotional about my bets plenty of times too, but I don't think I honestly don't think it was a bad stoppage. Chris Curtis looked like he was completely done. He fell over, couldn't get back up. I mean, I'm sure he could have, but like he was stumbling. He was on all fours. If I was a ref, I probably would have called it too. It seemed like it was over to me. So I don't blame the ref. I think it was fine. Maybe he could have let him go, but I don't think we've seen way worse stoppages before. That wasn't even close to the worst one, in my opinion. And good for Kopolov. He did it. He did his job. He got the job done, and he was probably going to win that fight anyways. I don't really understand being super upset about it. If you were, especially if you're upset because you had Chris Curtis money line, like you weren't hitting. You just weren't. He won that round. Even if you think it was a close round and Curtis could have stole it, once Kopolov dropped him, that was done. Even if the ref didn't call it, that round was going to go to Kopolov. And I don't understand being upset if you had Curtis money line. If you had the spread, okay, you got a little. I don't want to say robbed because I think it was a fine stoppage, but it sucks a little bit. I get it. You were about to cash it because it was 1-1. You only need one round with the spread. So I can understand why people would be upset there. But either way, good for Kopolov. Hope Curtis can rebound. After that, we had Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Crazy comeback from Almeida. Al Hassan was kind of beating on him until right towards the end of the round, where Almeida just landed that left hook, knocked him out clean. Beautiful knockout. It might be a knockout of the year contender already on the first card. So good for Almeida. And sucks for Al Hassan, especially because the fight before that, he kind of got robbed with the Brundage, the no contest. So sucks to suck, unfortunately. Feel bad for him. He's a great fighter. I like him a lot, but we can move on. Then we had Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Ponzi got the win, knocked out Harris in a relatively close fight. I'm glad I passed. I had the under. I almost bet the under 2.5. I had it on my list to bet, and I ended up passing because it got bet down really hard, and that would have lost. So I'm glad I didn't bet that. And yeah, no real takeaways from there. I think both guys are on the tail end of their career. And then after that, we had Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. Dern pulled it off, was able to sub Ribas. I had money on Ribas, had 1.9 units to win one at minus 190, and that was a poor play. Dern came in there. She definitely did a much better job this time around. On my videos and everything, I said that I didn't feel like enough stuff has changed for the outcome to be super different. And I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. Dern looked great. She looked a lot better this time around, and good for her. She's probably going to get a title eliminator or something close to that in her next fight. And then Ribas will make a comeback. She's not going anywhere. She's still relatively young too, and she's a solid fighter. And that's it. That was UFC Vegas 101. We have UFC 311 coming up, and watch out for my breakdown video that'll be coming out tomorrow, Tuesday. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.